I mean, we spent a lot of time on the beginning just understanding the people that we wanted to help. I think it's always a mistake to just assume that business is going to come to you. And that's funny how most people do that. They build their numbers off of these ideas that, if they have a good service, then the world will knock their door down trying to buy from them.
This is the Staying Power Podcast, a show that explores the challenges business owners face as they grow. I'm Brandon Hall.
And I'm Thomas Castelli.
And together, we ask the tough questions to show you that running a business is not for the faint of heart. But if you have staying power, you'll overcome your challenges and achieve lasting success.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for tuning in to today's episode of the Staying Power Podcast. Brandon and I are joined by Chris Evans and Taylor Welch, co-founders of Traffic and Funnels, a multi-million-dollar sales and marketing company. In today's episode, we discuss how they built Traffic and Funnels and the challenges they faced along the way, including working as a partnership, how Taylor overcame a sales drought caused by self-doubt, overcoming burnout, setting boundaries, and we also discuss marketing tips and much more. Taylor, Chris, thanks for taking the time to come on the show today. Would you be able to give our listeners a little information on each of your backgrounds?
Yeah, so back in 2015, I was riding down the road and I saw this guy in a cardboard box, and I was like, you know what, man, this guy, I felt really sorry for him, and ended up pulling over, and he was homeless, living in a cardboard box, and that's the other guy that you see on the screen with me, Taylor Welch. And so I picked him up and I took him in. I took him under my wing.
Brandon thought you were serious. Brandon was like, oh, wow, he's going right in.
Well, this is a great story. I poured into him, and I said, let's start a business together. No, I'm just kidding.
That's how you choose your partner. I mean,
yeah, that's how you find the best business partners. No, we actually met in a Facebook group, and the true story is we were in this Facebook mastermind. It was actually a paid mastermind, and I had been running big launches for clients and running paid acquisition campaigns and building infrastructure for these launches, information launches. And Taylor was writing copy and building funnels for people. We met in this group and I saw some interesting stuff that he was doing. I was like, man, I want to check out more of what he's doing. So we ended up connecting and saw that we had mutual friends, like close friends of mine. And we just started talking a lot and just found out that we had similar backgrounds and kind of the same values. And this was over a period of several months. Taylor was doing his thing, I was doing my thing, and we thought maybe we should look at starting a business together. And that's kind of how Traffic and Funnels, which is now actually gotten to a place where it's outgrowing us as the founders and owners with the team and stuff that we have. But that's kind of our quick snapshot of us meeting and then starting Traffic and Funnels. It wasn't actually me pulling him out of the gutter. Maybe sort of a little bit. He might have lacked some confidence, but no.
And they are regretting having both of us on at the same time right now. You can see it in their faces. They're like, oh, shoot.
What
got to get through 40 minutes of this.
Well, why decide to partner and start Traffic and Funnels? Like, what led you to that? Why not just do your own thing?
I mean, we went back and forth on it. Like I don't think at first I wanted to partner and then I didn't want to partner. And same with Chris, at first he didn't, then he changed his mind. I think we were sharing clients back and forth because we served the opposite sides of the coin, Chris with advertising and me with funnels and copywriting. And we just wanted to try it out. And I think that that's actually ironically been a testament to an extent to our journey thus far, even today, where there's we don't put a lot of pressure on ourselves. Like let's try Sales Mentor. Let's try Wealth Cap. Let's just try this out. Let's see what will work. I think a lot of people have this, I have to make this or else I'm a failure. And from the very beginning, Chris was like, let's just try it. Let's just see how it goes. And we tried it and it obviously worked out great. So now we do 4 or 5 businesses that are all thriving and we still have that same ethos. Let's just be a service. Let's just try it out. Let's see if we can be valuable here to somebody somewhere. And we're very open-handed even today with what we do and what we don't do.
Yeah. One thing that was really stood out to me, because I had partnerships before that didn't really work out that well, is I knew my work ethic, but then getting in and seeing Taylor's work ethic was
higher. Was higher than Chris's. He was like, wow.
I found out he was able to actually keep up with me and how much I pushed. No, but that was important because the first days, weeks, months of Traffic and Funnels, I was really overloaded with client work. My work ethic was, I'd say, pretty intense. to a place that it was actually unhealthy back in the day. But then seeing Taylor coming up and just really pushing hard on pushing the business forward, and he was a lot of the driving force in us getting rolling. Me seeing that was like, man, I think this could really work long term. And here we are 4.5 years later, almost 5 years later.
Yeah. So you mentioned that you saw his work ethic, and it sounds like that kind of helped seal the deal. Did you have any conversations about how much do you want to make money wise? Where do you want to scale the business before you locked in the partnership? Because I think that, at least in the CPA world, I'm in a couple CPA groups, and I think what happens is they bring on partners who say, oh yeah, I want to make $500,000. But as time goes on, they realize, 300K is actually fine. And I don't want to put in the extra effort to make the 500 or the 750. So you have one partner that wants to make $1 million, one partner that says they want to make 750, but ends up being fine with 300. Did you have any sort of those conversations about where do you want your life to be? How much money do you want to make? And how did that kind of help you guys?
Yeah, there's probably a screenshot that's rolling around the internet. It's actually a screenshot of our Skype conversation. And I think it must have been me asking Taylor or vice versa. I don't remember, but it's like, dude, do you think we could do 20 grand a month in revenue? Like that was it. That was like the kind of like the dream. I would say for me, at least, I didn't have a lot of bigger vision than that. And it was just, it's interesting looking back at that. And within about, I don't know, Taylor, correct me if I'm wrong, it was like 3 months. We'd actually gotten the business to 127,000 a month in revenue, or like a first full-time month of Traffic and Funnels. So for me, it wasn't like this some crazy vision of, dude, we're going to have a 7-figure business. It's going to be, we're going to have Lamborghinis. And I just wanted to like have a healthy business and not kill myself. So I don't know for Taylor if he had some crazy vision, but it's like the thing that I think about.
Neither one of us really did, but I think it is important to know if you're going to get into a partnership, to know the other person's personality. And it was September 2015 that we started, and it was January 2016 that we really went full time. But I found out really early on that Chris was going to be the big thinker, and so much so that it was going to make me uncomfortable. We had the opposite conversations many times where it was like, we can make this business do $1 million. And Chris was like, how about 10 million? And it was like, well, let's not be too hasty. Let's settle down. Even, we talked a couple months ago and Chris is throwing out a figure for us on personal income. And I'm like, holy cow, dude, that's going to take us. He's like, by the end of this year. It's like, he's a bigger thinker in a lot of ways. I think it's really important for partnerships, if they do come together, that there's something brought to the table by both parties that might be more difficult for the opposite member. Me and Chris, we don't necessarily contribute the same things at the same time. We contribute things that, for Chris might be a little bit more difficult, for me might be a little bit easier, and then vice versa. I think it's important that you are aware of what the other person brings to the table, personality-wise, skill set-wise, work ethic-wise, et cetera. That's probably a big reason why partnerships fail, is they don't talk about those things. They don't talk about expectations. They just think it's fun. They see me and Chris, they're like, oh, it's fun. Let's be like Taylor and Chris. And let me tell you, when we're talking Friday night, 10:30, because it's always Chris that has an attitude. I'm having to call him out. It's never me. That's not fun. He can attest to that. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work, but it's worth it. But it's effort,
Let me just back up for everybody who's listening right now. What does Traffic and Funnels do? And then
absolutely nothing.
And what are each of your roles in the business?
Traffic and Funnels is a consultancy. So we help people dial in their advertising, their marketing, their message to market. We help them build their fulfillment. It's turned into this powerhouse where people can come in really early on and they can skip 3, 4, 5, 10 years of the journey through utilizing our team. Me and Chris don't necessarily have separate duties, so to speak. We more have, I think, this is the first time we're actually talking about this publicly, so feel free to chime in here, bro. But I think we have different lanes from what do we enjoy? Where are our pockets? And what I can look at over the last couple of years is my lane of enjoyment is just complete chaos and mayhem. Is fires burning everywhere, and I'm running through like Rambo with the loincloth, getting everybody excited. And I'll typically be kind of the starter, like it's a lot of energy. Man, I'm just going to load myself up and bust through walls and get everything started. But then it's like a switch that's flipped and I just literally don't care about it anymore. And I'll just walk away. Whereas Chris is the optimizer, scaler, more of the long-term, what's the potential here? And so we see that a lot even inside of Sales Mentor. I started Sales Mentor and then I literally just decided to quit Sales Mentor because I didn't like it anymore. And he 10x'd it, and same with Wealth Cap. That was like hey, I'm going to do this whether I don't even care what you think about it. I'm just doing it. And then Chris comes in and is able to bring vision and stability and I think longevity to it. And so I think we separate out not based on duties, but more so based on just lanes and what level of energy do we want to give to it. Would you agree with that, Chris?
Yeah. I'd say our skill sets and everything is very complementary, where Taylor just has that fire and he starts fires. And I try to control the burn so we don't burn down the whole forest, but it's controlled.
Sounds like Taylor comes in. He's like, oh, I have this great idea. I want to start this thing. He goes and starts doing it. And then you come in and say, okay, well, now I have to kind of organize everything, put structure in place.
Yes, some of that I think, Taylor definitely has organization skills and structure skills. But his best gift, I think, is starting and getting the momentum rolling. My personality is really, I lean towards just long-term, steady like this. Taylor's like a freaking rocket. Hold on, the rock is being lit. Yeah, it's intense. So, well, the Traffic and Funnel specifically now, I say that we're co-CEOs and we're really advisors in the business. We're coaching our leaders. And where we used to be developing the business, now we're really focused on developing people. That's the sweet spot we found in growing businesses. So Traffic and Funnels is actually, we've reduced the amount of time that we spend in that business because now we have a few other businesses as well and acquiring new businesses. So we've had to really figure out through a lot of pain, a lot of suffering, emotional turmoil, a lot of money loss, how to become good leaders so that we can set this business up to where it can run without us. Yes. Being the main show and having to control everything. So that was probably, I'd say for me, one of the biggest breakthroughs that's gotten us to the place where Traffic and Funnels is a 7-figure a month business, mostly running without us.
So what does your team look like today at Traffic and Funnels? How many people do you have? Talk to us about that.
I honestly don't know how many people we have on the team total. People ask us that, how many employees do you have? I don't know. It's 50, maybe something like that. But we have a core leadership team that really handle the primary parts of the business. So operations, sales, marketing, and then our client success department. And those are the guys that we spend most of our time with. And then that's the beautiful thing is even when we get on calls with our clients, so our mastermind, we get on there once or twice a month and they ask us questions about the business that we don't know because we have other people that are trusted people in their position that are running it. They are the CEO of that area of the business and they're growing it without us. They're developing it without us because they have become great leaders and they have our ethos and understand our concepts and principles. So it's almost like we're just duplicating ourselves over and over. And honestly, man, I don't know. I'd have to ask our COO how many people we have. But it's a great thing to have. And I'd say most entrepreneurs, at least people that I come in contact with, they haven't experienced that level of freedom in their business, right? Because so many people, they want to control everything.
So it sounds like in a matter of 5 years, you've scaled to $1 million a month, 50 people, and it sounds like you are in the process or have already removed yourself from the business, from the day-to-day operations, and you're kind of doing the higher level strategic stuff. And I mean, I'm sure that people listening to this are salivating at this. I mean, I think that's kind of where entrepreneurs want to build a business to, and you did it in 5 years. So I know Traffic and Funnels is big on the marketing, the funnel building, the advertising, the launching. Talk to us about how can businesses more effectively market their services to achieve massive scale like you guys have seen? What are some of the big mistakes that they make? What are they not doing? Let's go down that road.
Well, I have Taylor answer that question, but just so people know who are listening, in Traffic and Funnels specifically, our budget of time for the business a week is 5 hours. That is our constraint. We don't spend any more than 5 hours a week each in that business.
One comment before we go down the marketing path. I think from my perspective, what I'm seeing, what's allowing you to do that, what's allowing you to step out and have that freedom is your ability to delegate the authority to someone who's very capable of doing that aspect of it. And then you trusting them to get the job done and not having that feeling that you need to control every little thing that's going on within the business.
Yes, 100%. A lot of it comes down to just getting out of their freaking way. Getting out of your team's way. Let them run and, let them own the success 100% and also the failure 100%.
That makes sense. Let them own it, and then you don't have to. But my fault, I didn't want to steal Brandon's question. Brandon's question was, what are the top marketing things that you see people doing? What are the mistakes that they're making? What should they be doing that they're not?
Specifically around marketing? Is that the question?
Well, just like, I don't know. You go into a firm or a new business and you say, we're going to take you to $1 million a month in revenue, and it's going to take us 5 years. I'm assuming that marketing plays a massive role in that. So, talk to us about how you did it.
We spent a lot of time on the beginning just understanding clinically the people that we wanted to help. I think it's always a mistake to just assume that business is going to come to you. And that's funny how most people do that. They build their numbers off of these ideas that, if they have a good service, then the world will knock their door down trying to buy from them. And we didn't have that. We were not entitled to any of it. And, from the very beginning, the first couple of sales we made, and Chris took all of that and he put it into advertising. We didn't pay ourselves off of it. We invested that right back into the machine. And because of that, we were able to grow really quickly. We were able to actually invest money into things that didn't produce a return. And we kept going. I think another mistake is people will not get the results that they want, which is like 18 million X ROI. And they don't get that. So they stop. Marketing doesn't work. Advertising doesn't work. I remember several conversations at the very beginning, again, going back to the personality type of the founders and the partners, where I would just be like, dude, is this going to freaking work? It's silly now. Like looking back, it's embarrassing. But Chris was like, I am 100% confident that we can figure this out. That was his stance. That was his posture. And I got a lot of confidence from that. And it also fueled the business because it didn't matter whether something worked or didn't work. We were going to do it again and figure it out and tweak and test and optimize. And people think that there's this holy grail of there's this manuscript somewhere hiding out in the world that they can find and it will explain the exact recipe. But everything's a test. Everything's an experiment. And if you can hang on to that narrative, then it will decrease the disappointment when one of your ads doesn't work and you'll just write a new one. It's not going to ruin you in business. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And I'll add to that, and all these secrets we give away in our book, intelligentadvertiser.com. No, but I think that a mistake that people make is they don't dial into one person, one pain point. They try to go after every opportunity that comes in front of them. But really, when you understand that, it's very, very powerful because it's eliminating so many variables that can bring issues to your business. So if you have one market that has one pain, then you create one message that is going to bring them in. It's like they understand that you understand who they are, what their issues are, and that you can help them. Especially when we're talking about paid advertising, it's very, very important, right? The other thing that's really important is when you're focused on marketing, I think that people don't understand the time that we're living in, where I can go out today and I can create an ad on Facebook or YouTube or Google Display and get my message in front of my ideal prospect today, right now. Like this is still fairly new and people underestimate the power of reach that you have today. And so with that being in mind, you have to understand that marketing is investment. Like you are an investor. The stuff that Taylor was talking about, when you're going out and you're testing different messages and stuff to try to figure out what your market's going to respond to, how they're going to actually get into on your list or in your Facebook group or whatever, you are an investor to make that happen. And once you have that expectation, that changes the game because so many people, they're afraid to market the right way. And that's actually putting dollars into platforms like Facebook and email and, all the things that are out there available right now. And when you take that away, I think it kind of just brings freedom. Whenever I have these conversations, I've had a lot of them with business owners who are very, very smart. But for whatever reason, just the thought of them putting money into a platform like Facebook to run ads or YouTube or Google or whatever, they're afraid because they just don't have that expectation of I'm going to invest $500 or $1,000 or $3,000 or $5,000 or whatever to get data to know what my market's going to respond to, right? And then just the ability to build off that. So knowing the market, having one person they're speaking to, one pain that they're addressing, one offer to help with that person, and that their expectation is I'm going to invest to get knowledge, data, information to be able to reach the person that's perfect for my business.
So a lot to unpack there and really good stuff. Let's say that I have clearly defined who my client is or who my target prospect is. What is the next step? Should I start blogging? Should I start a podcast? Or should I start Facebook advertising? You said market the right way. You also said collect data to understand what your prospects will respond to. What do you, because I think a lot of business owners look at Facebook ads and they go, I could invest $1,000 into that. And I'm speaking from experience here. I could invest $1,000 into that, but I have no idea what to expect in terms of a return. I also have no idea how to optimize for the return that I'm looking for. So how do you even take that step to ensure that the ads are performing and that you're running people through the correct funnel or the right type of funnel? How do you even take that step?
I think to properly answer that, it depends on your skill set and your experience. If someone there may be a business owner, they're fairly new, but they don't have any skill in marketing or low skill in marketing and advertising. Our preference, and this is what we teach our clients, we have a very specific process that we walk them through, is for it to all be organic. So they can go out and they can play in Facebook groups and their personal profiles on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, whatever, and start testing these different messages because the people are there, right? And then they can kind of figure out, and they're not putting a bunch of money into the marketplace and they have no clue. So that's our preferred way to go. And obviously that's what we help our clients with. And our clients have the community, all the other clients who are going through the same thing, the coaches, the team, to get the sounding board and the wisdom, the insights to help figure out what do I do with these different variables. All right, I'm putting these messages out there, either nobody's responding or I'm getting these responses. What do I need to adjust? And I think for anybody listening, that is the way you're going to move the fastest. It's having the right people in your corner, i.e., why we hired you guys to help us with our taxes. Smart people who know what the heck they're doing that can do it the right way and help us with all the crazy variables that we have, right? So that's what I would say. I don't know if T would answer differently.
I mean, yeah, I think part of the reason that people are so confused is because of the malpractice involved in answering that question.
Yep.
We're building a house right now. The first thing I did is I went and paid an architect. I'm not going to mess with that. I mean, the house could crumble. That if I imagine me trying to build this thing out.
Well, you could go out and buy plans.
Yeah, I could buy plans. 100% on Pinterest. That's where the magic happens.
So it sounds like one of the biggest mistakes people make. There's a lot of things not knowing their message, but they should really be looking at themselves and saying, "What are my strengths? What are my strengths? What am I good at? Let me focus on that, and let me hire and delegate the marketing to somebody else." Basically, because hey, if you're an entrepreneur out there, you may not be the best marketer, right? You may be very focused on your service. So let's just say for accountants, for example, you might be very good at preparing a tax return, but you don't know how to market that service. So you should go and hire someone like yourself who's an expert in that service who can walk you through all of the mess of that is marketing, so that they can be successful in their marketing efforts.
Yeah, yes and no, but also, where do you learn from? So, making sure that you're learning from the right sources, that's really important as well.
Yeah, it also depends on what people want. I think marketing and sales is one of the best skills that a business owner can develop and should develop. Because if you can do that, you'll never worry about money again, ever.
Can't agree more with you on that one. Sales and marketing is definitely the way to make sure that you'll never go broke and that you'll always be valuable. But I guess to your point, it's you have to know who to look to for that advice. You're not going to go to the real estate CPA for marketing and sales advice. You're going to go to
travelingfunnels.com.
The people who know what they're doing, the people who have built the sales funnels and the marketing funnels, they've already done there and been there and done that.
Yeah.
So with the specific challenges when it came to building this business, sounds like you guys went from pretty much 0 to 100 relatively quickly. Was there any challenges you faced along that path?
Dude. So the first month we did 120, our first full time. We said, okay, January 1, like we're going full time, traffic and funnels, we're combining everything or letting clients go, whatever. And we did 127,000. Man, I remember the celebration dinner I had with my wife, like we were high, riding high. February, we were going into February, like nothing can stop us. And I think what did we do? Like 34 grand, 37
like 40.
grand.
Yeah, it was bad.
It's like right off the edge. And it was tough, man. I think, at that point, Taylor was handling all the sales. And I think your streak of no's was like 14.
I think it was higher than that. Probably 2022.
But people were like, no.
These are leads that you were trying to pitch services to.
Yeah.
And
And
this
so
was back in 2015.
we're like, this is 2016. Yeah, February 2016.
Okay.
And it's like, oh my God, was last month just like a fluke? So you talk about the self-doubt and the stuff that we had to overcome with that and just work through. And that's where the point where we actually had a coach. And he was coaching Taylor on sales. And what did he tell you, Taylor, that really kind of sparked change? Because right after we talked to him, I think you had your first close.
I mean, it was just like, he was like, the economy hasn't crashed. Like they didn't crash in the last week and a half. So, really what's the issue here? What's the problem? And it's kind of a numbers game. So it wasn't anything magical. It was just what I needed in the moment. I'm reading this John Wooden book right now. And one of the first things he had people do when they came onto his team is he taught them how to tie their shoelaces. And most of the things are not going to be magic. Most of the things are going to be appropriate. The things that have the most impact for you are not magic. It's the appropriate little things. And that's exactly what he did for me back in the day. No magic, no Gandalf the Grey, just like, hey, the economy hasn't crashed. It's like, bam, I was out of a rut.
Yeah, so Taylor was, I would say, was able to borrow his confidence.
Yes.
Because going through 14, 17, 20, whatever, 22 calls of people saying no, your confidence is going to be shaky. And to have someone who's been through it, they've been where you want to go, to say, no, dude, you're good. Keep plugging away. And there was nothing really to tweak or fix. It was just borrowing that confidence that the economy hadn't crashed. People still have money. They still need these services. Keep rolling. And literally like the next call, I remember, I'm pretty sure I was at the airport in the American Lounge and he closed that lady when we were traveling. So, man, for us, we've had so many ups and downs and challenges. And I'd say building the confidence was one of the biggest things that we had to deal with. Every new level, we faced a lack of confidence because it's something that we weren't familiar with. Whether it's sales or whether it's our ad account got disapproved in spring of 2017, we couldn't run advertising, whether it's someone that wanted to sue us, whether it's an employee who stole our stuff. But that's the game. That's what we signed up for. And I think when you freaking understand that, it's like, let's go. Bring them on.
Knowing what you know now, if you could go back in time and tell yourself something back in February 2016, when you were freaking out because it wasn't turning out to be what you thought it was, what would you tell yourself?
Probably in the season that I'm in now, just like, don't sweat it. How many years of life did I lose from really sweating and just being freaked out about the things that I shouldn't have been freaked out over? Everything is such a big deal as when you're young and you're growing, and then you look back in hindsight and it's like, man, that was a learning moment. It wasn't a tragedy. It was a learning moment. Now it's like, man, there are still opportunities. The volume of things that could freak you out actually grows the more prominent you become. People think it's opposite. I mean, when I get to this destination, when I get to this threshold, when I get to this, people even do it today. It's like, well, it must be easy for you to say, Taylor, Chris, like if I was where you were, like, no, we have 1,000 times more things to worry about than you do because you are nothing and you don't have anything to worry about and you make 40 grand a year and there's no taxes you even have to do on that. Look at us. Like everything breaks every other minute. What's changed is not the problems. What's changed is that our problems are put in their proper place. It's not going to steal from us. It's not going to steal our peace. It's not going to steal our joy. We're not going to let those problems rob us of being good leaders, good fathers, good husbands. You know, everything has a proper order. And at the beginning, I can say with some regret that it wasn't that way. I missed a lot of moments with my wife because I was worried about something that it was Friday night. I couldn't do anything about. Like, there's nothing I can literally do, but I'm stressing about it. And I know Chris's same exact story, just being in this place of angst. That's what I would tell myself if we could go back is life will be better, richer, more fulfilling, and you'll probably make more money if you can reduce your stress load over the things you can't control.
Yeah. And I would say that this thing, it's a journey, and it's not a day. It's not just a month. It's not just a year. And I think that's a big piece that people miss. Think, oh my God, it has to be right now. Well, no, really the thing that you need is to just continue to march forward, because consistent action is a thing that I'd say really beats out most people, because they give up. They were to hit February, they're like, oh my God, I need to go get a job. It was a fluke. You know what I mean? Like, they would freak out. Their emotions would get the best of them. And the other thing I would say is congratulations. Because the thing that you have to understand is, as a business owner and entrepreneur, your potential, the person that you can become, is way bigger and higher than what you currently are. You're at a 1 out of 100. And so congratulations on the opportunity for you to go through this, to maybe get to a 2, to become a better person, because that's the requirement for you to get to that person. And that, I mean, I'm a husband, I'm a father, I've got 4 kids. Taylor's got 1, right? You become a better husband, a better spouse, everything. And most people in the world, they don't have this opportunity to be in the freaking, pressurized tank, expanded, everything just like pushing in on them. And so the people that we are today is way better than those jokers back in 2016. And so we're able to handle abnormal levels. Like, our salary is 6 figures a month to our team, right? Like, so many people, that would freak them out, and they have just so much stress. And so it's been a requirement for us to become better people, to deal with those things in a healthy way.
So you guys have a really good mindset, and the growth you have experienced has been incredible. Was there ever a particular one challenge, one massive issue that as you're going through it, you were just thinking, wait, we're not coming back from this. We're toast. I do want to throw in the towel. Did that ever happen?
I had a hard time, actually, 2018. I don't know if it was like, I'll never come back from this, but I became very, very, my personality is more indifferent, I think, than probably most people. So I don't just have the swings. I don't get excited about a lot of things, but it was like at another level. I remember the end of summer 2018, I didn't care about anything. I was so off that I went to see a doctor. And through a lot of conversations with Taylor, I just I figured out, because obviously my strength is not a self-awareness as well. Like, I'm terrible at that. And so having Taylor, I asked Taylor, like, dude, how do I feel? I don't know, I need you to help with this. But I came to find out that I was just burnt out. I allowed things in the business. I allowed myself to get to a place of such unhealth that I was just burnt out. I didn't care if the business burned to the ground. I didn't care. I didn't care about our clients. I didn't care about anything. And I had to reconcile myself with what I allowed and what I tolerated, to make the right changes and boundaries for myself and the business and stuff, and to get to a place where I can operate at a healthy place. So I'd say that's kind of the first thing that comes to mind for me. What about you, Taylor? Anything you would add to that?
Taylor, before we jump in there, I kind of want to dive into that burnout. What led to the burnout?
I'd say not having proper boundaries was a big piece.
So the Friday night stressors.
Yeah, all that, man, with clients, allowing them just to have whatever access. We had tons of people that had access to our cell phones, and they could call us whenever. I mean, we are fixing personal problems, like counseling people on their family issues. And we just took on so much weight, so much burden. And we didn't know how to delegate and push off things that weren't right, that shouldn't have been our burden to carry. And for me, I got to a place where I kind of just got bitter within that, and got to a place where I didn't like our clients. I didn't like what we were doing, because I didn't have the proper boundaries set for myself, and being focused on what I should do and what I shouldn't do, honestly. I'd say that's a big thing that led to burnout for me.
How'd you solve it?
First, I recognized that I was burnt out, that it was my fault. It was nobody else's fault. 100% mine. The other thing that I lacked was vision. I didn't have any vision that really drove me through and pulled me through any kind of difficulty, which obviously is normal in business. And so recognizing that was me, that I was actually burnt out, I had to go back and fix a lot of things in the business. And we actually ended up canceling a 7-figure part of our business that we didn't love. And so identifying what you love in the business, what gives you energy in life, and focusing on that versus what are the things that just take away from my life, getting rid of that stuff or giving it to someone else that actually is in their lane. And so those are some of the big things, and just having vision about where we could go and getting excited about the business again, and having a great mentor to help with that.
Which was me.
It was big. Yeah.
I mentored him to it.
Yeah. So when Chris was going through his trials and tribulations, Taylor, what did you do to support Chris, or what type of impact did this all have on you?
I don't think I did a very good job on the support side. It took us, I think that was probably our first real challenge to overcome together, but we had a lot of conversations about it. And I think it is different based on the person. Like, this isn't a principle. There's not a principle that you're going to find here for how to deal with a business partner who's burned out, outside of value them more than you value their contribution. If you can't get to that place, then you don't deserve them as a partner anyways. I see a lot of people who are just like frustrated with their business partner. And it's like, you're too transactional with this human being. And so therefore you're probably not going to be able to help them through anything. But yeah, I remember it was actually close to, I think it was around December 2018 when he finally came out of it. And then it was just like, an almighty waterfall of energy with a hurricane mixed in it. And then I had to deal with the opposite, because I was like, this dude's coming in, he's going to change everything in 3 days. And it's just, I think, a process of learning how to navigate through life with people. I was on a podcast interview a couple of days ago, and they were asking me to describe the relationship with Chris, the business partner. I was like, dude, what's different is we're actually friends in real life. Like, I care about his kids. He's got a daughter that is getting old. And I'm like, dude, you're going to have to help me through this, because Kate's like 1 year. Like, can you just teach me how to navigate through this? And I care, he cares about my kids, and we're building a new house, and he's interested. He's genuinely interested, and he's curious. And I think that's important for people to recognize, is that the human element, I value him for more than just his contribution. And it's the same in reverse. And that's just a people principle. It's not a business principle. Most of the things that are going to propel you forward in life and business are actually probably personal principles. So I don't know if that's the answer you're looking for, bro, but that's what comes to mind.
This was a great answer. And I think that you hit a great chord there. And that chord was that you have to keep the people element in it. It's not, business isn't all just purely transactional. There's people involved, there's emotions involved, and it's important to keep that in mind. And if you're just going to be purely transactional all the time, you're probably not going to get too far. At some point, you're going to face extreme struggles that you might not be able to get through because you lack that empathy that you need to have in business.
Definitely.
When people say it's just business, that's silly.
Yeah.
It's not just business. Suffice it to say, we've had very, very difficult conversations. Yes. Very difficult. I remember one of our first hard conversations. It was March 2016. I remember we were flying to Canada. You remember this? We got so pissed off at each other because we were on the same plane. I was going to buy the first class ticket, and then I ended up not buying it because we were talking about maybe it's just too much. And then you ended up buying it. I was like, what?
Yeah.
You remember that conversation?
Yeah.
It was just so silly looking back at it. But it's crazy how many people wouldn't be able to get beyond something like that.
Yeah.
Where, again, it's an opportunity for you to let your ego go. And when you can get to a place where you can prefer other people, elevate other people above yourself, I think that's part of the secret of succeeding, not just in business, but in life. When you're able to be open-handed and you're so healthy as an individual and a person that I don't need like him just to give me all these things. But it's more about how can I give? And I think that's where you start to find success in every area. especially a partnership when you're like freaking locked in. It's like a marriage, but whether it's dealing with employees, people in your team, it's all about how can I give, how can I propel, how can I lift this person up? And that's kind of become a principle, I'd say, for us in business, but also in life.
Yeah.
And it feels really good.
Yeah, I was going to ask, how do you get past that first class flight conversation? But it sounds like it's just more of a journey. You said that a lot of people can't even get past that. So how do you continue down that journey of becoming that better person, of really caring about the other person? If you've got this, I can't believe that you picked up a first class flight, it's something that seems so inconsequential now, but at the time was a big deal. And how do you move past something like that?
We fight through it. I mean,
we disagree all the time.
But anytime we do get into it, one of us will say something to the effect of like, man, I got your back, like whatever. We've never doubted that the other person ultimately has the best interest of the opposite party. Anytime that I do doubt that, I'm going to tell him that I'm doubting it and he'll fix it. So when he says it's like a marriage, it kind of is like a marriage. Like you got to talk through things. You have to disagree, and you can't be, one of my biggest pet peeves is when we'll be in the heat of some discussion, and then Chris has something he has to go to. He's like, I got to call you back. And then he'll go off and get on this call. This has happened like a month ago. And I thought he was just getting off the phone call. And so I'm like frustrated because I'm like, he doesn't want to deal with it. But he actually had an appointment this one time. But pay attention, because you have to be aware not only of, you have to be aware of your own emotions and when your own emotions are trying to deceive you, trying to trap you. And I'm aware of that moving forward. One of the first things that we got into an argument with at the very beginning was like, I felt like I was doing all the work because he still had clients. You got to be aware of those little seeds that are planted somewhere in your heart. And then it's like, it can grow and it can deceive you. And then all of a sudden it's like this little root from something a long time ago is now casting shade on, you see what I'm saying? Like people, that's allowed to grow because you don't discuss it. You don't bring it into the light. You don't actually deal with it. And we're very good, if we're not good at anything else, we're very good at forcing each other to converse through disagreements. And we'll talk through it, and he may disagree and I may disagree, but ultimately a disagreement doesn't mean we don't have each other's back. And if you ever get confused on that, you're likely not a healthy person. You need to deal with that.
I'd say a lot of people think that disagreements are unhealthy, but actually I think disagreements are very healthy. And especially with things going on in the world right now, if people could disagree more in a healthy way, wow. Yes. Because the thing that you have to understand is you lack perspective. I lack perspective. So I've got this golf ball in my hand. This is what I use sometimes to coach our teams. Like, I can't see this side of what you see. I can only see this side, right? But the truth is you can see this side. You have a perspective that I do not have. That's valuable.
There's a lot of books that I've read recently on management and, dealing with people. One of them is candor, and having the ability, like you guys are talking about, to be able to bring these disagreements to the forefront, being able to discuss them openly and be able to come out the other side, better for it. So before we wrap up today, we just wanted to ask, if people wanted to get in touch with you or learn more about traffic and funnels or anything else that you guys have going on, what would be the best way for them to do so?
Text 704.
He's trying to get on a personal cell. We have a lot of amazing free content on our website, trafficandfunnels.com. Obviously, our book, Intelligent Advertiser, our Facebook group, Traffic and Funnels. We've got so many resources that people can grab for pretty inexpensive right now.
Specifically for the topic of dealing with pain, I think in mindset, Daily Mind Medicine is that daily podcast, which is all about honestly what we've discussed this whole time, which is principles to grow through, And
it's awesome. It's like 5 minutes each episode.
Easy, super easy.
Absolutely. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to drop all of that into the show notes for anybody who's listening. Trafficandfunnels.com, Daily Mind Medicine, The Intelligent Advertiser. All of the links to that will be in the show notes. Taylor and Chris, want to thank you again for taking the time to come on today's show. Awesome episode. We're looking forward to releasing it. It's going to be coming out in a few weeks. But again, thanks again for coming on.
You got it.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed the show, leave us a review on iTunes and share the show with other business owners who may be facing their own growth challenges. And if you own a professional services firm, consider joining our private community. The Staying Power Collective is a community where owners of accounting, law, and consulting firms discuss best practices for running and growing virtual businesses. You'll get access to our Slack group, and you'll have a Zoom meeting once a month with a small group of other firm owners. To apply for the group, head on over to www.stayingpowercollective.com and fill out the brief form. And if you have suggestions for future topics or guests, or if you have general questions or feedback, send us an email at contact@stayingpowercollective.com. Thanks so much for listening, and have a great rest of your week.